Kirsi-Marja will look at the work done at the National Institute for Health and Welfare on the gender aspects in the budget issues. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. A few words about my institution. So this is Social Policy Research Unit of the National Institute for Health and Welfare. We focus on policy and implementation of social security. We have several tools, but what's relevant to you is our budget and the assessment of budgets and the impact analysis on basic security and social security. And we have statutory tasks as well to assess every 4 years the sufficiency of the basic security paid to people in order. Now let's find the right direction. A few words about the concepts. Social security in Finland has two main aspects: earnings-based benefits based on the work people have performed. They guarantee the sustainability of life if social risks occur. But there's also residence-based social security, which ensures a basic level to everybody. There's no earnings-related or income-based assessment. I'm looking at the second type, the residence-based benefits, because it's fully dependent on the budget and it is determined on a political basis. Basic security, we are talking about the benefits paid by the National Insurance Institute. We also include municipalities and the income allowance, which is discretionary. That is also included here. In our surveys and studies, we also consider the entity of people's life situations, what are the special features which impact the life and sufficiency of the benefits they receive. We have a microsimulation model which is based on material produced by Statistics Finland. A few words about basic security. It's a universal right guaranteed to everybody on the basis of the constitution, everybody living here, but the level in terms of euro is a political decision. It's the part of the sums decided on the basis of budget by parliament. It's a very central institution in the Nordic welfare state model, and in our model it has to do what Emilia said about equality, the concept of equality as spoken by Emilia. I'm looking at the gender division of the benefits. They are not equally divided, even if social security is universal to all. It is not gender-based. One or more benefits are received by 2 million Finns, and 64% are women. There is a link to benefits. Child allowance is often applied for when the child is going to be born, and you apply for the maternity allowance. there's another trend here. They talk about the situation in life, which is different for men and women. Men are the majority. If you look at the labor market subsidy or unemployment benefits, they are also the majority. If you look at the one person household housing allowances or military allowance and similar, they also receive the pensioner child benefit. That means men can form new families. There are several types of life situations. Even if the statutory security is gender neutral, the life paths and life situations are different. Training and education, its impact on your career, your potentials on the market, labor market, the nature of the employment, part-time or temporary, professions, pay gaps, and family formation and the practices related to family leaves. All this has an impact on the earnings related security, on the accumulation. And then if there's no accumulation, how much the basic security comes to fill that lack of security. Looking at the benefits and receiving them, there's a problem if you include the gender aspect. Many statistics and models talk about households. They don't focus on a person. We look at families, but in housing allowance, the reference person, in 47% of the cases it's a man, in 53% it's a woman. That means Finnish families are fairly equal. Often the banking account of the household is shared. But if you look at the persons who live alone, or one person families, most of them are men, they are easily, or their bad life situation a bit different than women's. In divorce, often or mostly women have the custody of the children. If you look at maintenance allowances and support, most of the recipients are women, 90%. If we look at the aged persons, various national pension systems, guarantee pension and so on, women have a little more or a higher level of pension than men, which is an indication of the fact that the national pension and guarantee pension is a security for those who don't have the earnings related pension, or whose earnings related pension is small. And if you look at the older people, you see a very clear difference. But my generation, when we retire, there will be very little share of women who have just the national pension. So the shares of the genders will approach the 50-50 division, because my generation of women have education, we have worked along, so we have the earnings related pension high enough so that we do not need the national pension. But if we look at the female earnings related pensions, They are about 400 euros smaller than men's pensions. This is data from 2013, and therefore they will get more of the supplementary national pension. Here the social security system will supplement for the worse position on the labor market, lower pay, and that is why the basic security element in social security is there in the first place. A few more data. Guaranteed pension is paid to persons of which 60% are women. The housing allowance of pensioners, 64% of them are women. And this is also due to the fact that life expectancy of women is longer than men's in Finland as a whole. It is so that the social security supplements the disadvantage felt by the Finnish women. This has to do with the history of social security. It started with the pauper help, and the biggest problem then was the widowed women and old people and taking care of them. So the focus is perhaps still visible there within the social security system. I take one example of the sufficiency of the benefits. This is a very complex system. This has to do with the assessment report published this February. It's a statutory task of this institute. Single parent, one child. We have the assumption that the child is 3 to 7 years old, because that depends on the age also of the child. We talk about single parents, but also in the law, but most of them are women. Housing allowances 94%, those receiving child allowance 88%, and those who have a child increase on the study allowance, 88% are women again. Of course, this also talks about the life situation, but they are single mothers who still study. We have a system in Finland that makes it possible for women to be mothers and students, even in cases where you are a single mother. This also talks about our model. So it doesn't, not like in the Anglo-Saxon countries, it doesn't come instead of the breadwinner, but this model makes it possible for women to participate in the labor market and in society at large. That is the idea, but it's not easy. And looking further, you will understand why. If you compare to a single parent with medium wages, these persons will have 41 to 62% of the average wage of those working. It's a very large fork between these percentages, because it depends on your residence. Those living with hired apartments, this basic security covers about 90% of the sort of referential budget. This is based on a consumer service. There are minimum expenses, food, clothing. It does not include pharmaceutical expenses, but it does include necessary expenses for functionality, like a phone account, small expenses. Single person budget is based so that 71% of the security is covered. This is hard, and people do sacrifice their own wishes. They use the money for food and living. Perhaps they do not buy the new shoes for the winter. Those with a child, so single parents, get a little more. Those without children do worse. One third of the expenses need to be covered by other sources. We have food banks. We are now talking about people who are worst off in society. So single parents, 90% covered. People without children, 71% covered. Now we look at this table. The leftmost budget column is in euro. Let's see down. Medium wage, one child, single parent, and in the Helsinki metropolitan area in a hired apartment, so there's 200% over of the reference budget. So 920 is the reference budget. And then you have people with their own apartments, and three columns with different kinds of municipalities: small municipality, medium municipality, and in the Helsinki metropolitan area. University students get about 90% of the expenses covered by basic security. So they are less than 920, so they get to find a source for those 10%. As a summary, I would like to say that the state budget and the budget bills constitute a very central tool to regulate poverty and the level of welfare and well-being, and they bridge the gap, the Gini coefficient, so-called. The income differences or growing income differences are very dependent on this budget and budget bills, so that the benefits paid out by the national insurance institution are paid out. It is not always enough, the basic security, to cover all your living expenses. In our model, we have looked at very many types of families: single people, couples, with or without children. The assessment is in online. My logo or slogan would be the Nordic social security system is the girl's best friend, as also referred to by the ambassador. The public service system supplements for this security system. Daycare which makes it possible studying, working and participation in society. There are also services such as old age care, other caregiving services which are part of the traditional women's jobs so don't opt for the diamond ring. It's the social security system that counts.